Reading of the minutes of the previous meeting.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of the meeting, June
I'll
meeting.
second it.
Okay. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, carried. Presentation of bills and accounts.
I move we accept the bills and accounts as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. COVID-19.
Okay, the office is open. We have our protective barriers up. Customers are coming in and out. Things seem to be working well. People are signing in with, no objection. And we ordered the air conditioning system for the filter plant that we approved last month. At Dennis's request, he gave me the name of a contractor that he had used previously when he worked managing buildings. And that individual gave us another quote, a competitive quote. The first quote we had was for $12,000, and the second one came in at $7,500. And we added a filter to that, which is not a bacterial or a virus filter, but a filter that would extend the life and of the unit itself, and also a UV light on there to help remove viruses, molds, and other things. And so the total came to $9,350. It's on order, and we expect it to be installed shortly, next week or two. So that's it.
Good. Okay, Cooper Lake improvements.
Okay, first thing is all the permits that we've made our submission to DEC with our permits. I haven't been able to download the incomplete file yet since it crashed the email, but it's on an FTP site from our engineer, and I'll get it tomorrow just to have for our file. Hopefully, they'll begin their review. I'm sure they're going to have questions, comments, concerns, and it's a coordinated review with their agency. So once we submit to their permit coordinator, then we don't have to worry about individual submissions to every branch of the DEC that has an involvement in this permit process. So that's good news. Hopefully, in a month or so, 60 days maybe, optimistically, they will get back to us, and we will be able to have a project and start issuing bids.
Okay,
Good.
that sounds good.
Yeah, it's progress. I also emailed around 2 files. One is the DEP land use permit, and the other is the water supply agreement. If you had a chance to look at the DEP land use agreement, there's a section there under fees, which we've gotten a clarification on, to be perfectly honest with you. The original permit land use agreement said that the fee for this year would be $6,879.53. And that's prorated. And on an annual basis, that would be $12,659.63. But once we remove the temporary line, it would go down to $912 a year. And I reached out to my contact at the DEP that's coordinating this permit process for them and said, did you realize that this line may never be installed? And so I'm going to share my screen. We have a new we have a new, right here it is. We have a new agreement that, unfortunately, this agreement, I don't know if everybody can see that, but basically it says that on a prorated basis, this year, we're going to owe $593.62. because now they understand the construction of this portion would not be until next year. And then it's gonna be on an as-needed basis, that $12,000 will kick in and be prorated. If we activate it in January, obviously the full 12 months would apply. If we activate it in December, then it's only gonna be 1/12 of that fee would be required. The award letter has to be signed by the Deputy Commissioner, Paul Rush. They weren't able to turn it around and get him to sign it, but this is the language that's gonna be in the new letter. And so I would ask that if you're, comfortable with the balance of that land use permit, that we authorize it tonight, understanding that there's gonna be a clarification letter issued with this language for the fees to have our commitment down this year from $6,879.53 down to $593.62. So. Not sure if that.
We really don't have much of a choice here, right?
No, and Bill has reviewed both the land use permit as well as the water supply agreement. And I don't know if you have any comments you want to make about that?
No, I read them both. They're pretty straightforward. The prices are, I leave it up to Judy as far as the charges. And we discussed some other issues regarding payment of taxes. The requirements Matt is familiar with. I think everything is in order for approval.
Okay.
Except for, I think there's one change, one recent minor change we have to do, Judy, am I right? Just mentioned that.
Yes, and I will have that clarification letter probably early next week. It depends on, Paul's availability to sign that document. But the document is ready for his signature.
So I need a motion to authorize Dennis on behalf of the board to sign as commissioner, correct?
Yes.
I'll make that motion that we accept the land use permit pending a clarification on the fees section, number 5, to be adjusted to $593.62 for year 1.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, carried.
Okay, that's all I have on Cooper Lake. I think we're moving along. It's been a long slog and we're not there yet, but we're getting closer.
Okay,
Oh, there was a second, there's 2 pieces to this. One is the land use agreement, which has a 60-day clock on it. So that clock is ticking, or 30-day clock rather. So I appreciate that approval. The second one is the actual agreement, which really spells out the terms and conditions under which we can take water and what the fee structure is and all that kind of thing.
Same motion,
Right.
motion to approve the agreement.
Right, motion to approve the agreement,
That does not have to be modified.
which is not, Bill, you're comfortable with it as it's written? Yes.
okay, so it's, Bill, it's your recommendation that this is an acceptable agreement.
Yes, I came down earlier. I had a lot of questions, which I went over with Judy on the whole document, and we're comfortable with it. I do recommend it.
So we need a second motion for this?
Yes.
I'll make the second motion to accept the agreement as reviewed by council.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it's accepted. Approved. Transmission main rehab project.
Okay, I think in your board packet, you have, first of all, the project is going along quite well. Both new mains are installed. Today, one was filled yesterday and pressure tested and met all the requirements. The second one was almost full, and if it wasn't pressure tested late this afternoon, it will be first thing tomorrow morning. We're gonna assume it's gonna pass, but we have to wait and see once the test is completed. Then we're gonna disinfect the mains on Monday. That's the current schedule. They have to pass two bacterial tests, two consecutive bacterial tests, 24 hours apart. We're hoping they're gonna do that. We'll see. And then once all that paperwork is submitted to the New York State Health Department, and they approve it, then we can put those mains in service. And that'll mean probably the following week or late next week, we'll be doing those last tie-ins at the bottom. And then essentially, the project will be substantially complete, and we're hoping that'll happen by the 31st of August. In your packet, I think there were several change orders. Was that included in the, okay.
Yeah.
So let me do this again, just to be, just a second here. There we go. So the change, so far we've had $116,241 worth of change orders. These are change orders 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and just a little explanation on what they are. The change order number 6, that was $4,000. When we got up to Jockey Hill Road and we started to install those valves, it became very apparent that the town's drainage pipes were in bad shape, and the water was just dumping on top of the water mains, which, you know, is not always a good thing in terms of erosion and the way those mains are. So the town agreed to supply some materials, and we agreed to work with them and do some of the work. And the end result is the drainage has been relocated and there's been a realignment. It's now not just being discharged onto our mains. And the cost for that work by our contractor was $4,000. Second change order was a 2-inch tap at the bottom of the hill at the Binneywater Valve Yard. And we needed that tap to be able to fill those mains, which is how we filled them yesterday and today, and how we're going to test them. We made the tap, but the contractor had to do the excavation. It's at the bottom of a hill. It was wet. And we negotiated, they originally wanted $21,000 for that change order. We negotiated them down to 16 because while we knew the conditions were challenging, they chose the method, and that method drew it out a little bit the way they did it. So Paul and I both feel that that's a fair compromise, and that's actually what that work should have been worth. Change order number 8 is the removal of a concrete vault that was abandoned years ago, filled in with dirt, and was no longer on any of our maps. And so it had to be removed because it was in the way of the installation of some of the new mains. And that removal was $15,000. The county's drainage pipes had to be extended, we believed, and they gave us permission to do that. Because they were running, the drainage was running right over where the new mains crossed the road. We thought that was a bad condition that needed to be corrected because it would lead to the erosion over there, and eventually that would probably uncover those mains. And the last one is a $21,000 change order for pavement. When we originally started this work, we were all under the impression that we wouldn't have to go out into the roadway, but we actually did. Because we couldn't install the valve exactly where we thought we needed to install it. We had to take away some of the pavement. And so we worked with the town. They, on municipal agreement, they actually did the paving for us, and we bought the materials. And so that was the net result. And as instead of just paving one lane, we did it both lanes We bought the material and they did the actual paving, so we thought that was a pretty good deal. In total, these change orders are $65,000. So I'm asking for your approval on those tonight.
Is there any further discussion? So entertain a motion to accept the change orders, approve the change orders.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. So we have money left on this account then, right?
Yes, we do.
53.
Yes. Yes.
And we're hopeful that we won't have any other change orders, but who knows?
We know we're gonna have one to extend, it's a non-monetary change order to extend the final completion date into August. We checked with EFC, that's fine with them, they're our lender and the grant manager for us. But yes, the way this grant works, and the way this funding for this WIA loan and grant worked, 50% of the loan was used upfront. That's been done. Then 100% of the grant has to be used, and then it follows up with the last 50% of the loan, and we're still using up grant funding.
Yes, we have
A little bit left,
grant left.
right. So, and then we would have the balance of the loan to draw from.
Okay. Guess moving on to WIA 2020.
I don't have anything additional to report on that. I'm hoping to have the scope completed, talking with our engineers, and an estimate to you for the August meeting.
Okay. Quarry Street.
Okay, hang on a second. We're gonna try to do some of this magic again. Okay, this is, I met with Dennis Larios a couple of times. We had talked about a number of permutations and combinations to get this main improved and restored and rehabilitated. Lining is not an option for us because of the numerous breaks we've had there. You really need a it just compromises the structure. Adding some insult to injury there is the fact that over most of it is quite a large 6 or 8 inch gas main, steel gas main. Central Hudson has installed about 18 inches above our main and directly over it. So it would make that when you line a pipe, you've got to open it in various sections to be able to line it. So it's just not possible. So what Dennis is proposing is that we install a brand new main. And it would involve blasting. It would take about a month. And he estimates the cost would be between $80,000 and $120,000. Now I just kind of highlighted his sketch a little bit so that you can see that. Let me just see if I can bring this up a little bit. This is Hurley Avenue down here. This is an existing, well, it's a little bit of a 6 in here and then an 8. That was mostly installed in 1963, and it continues all the way up to the junior high school, up to Bailey. This is a 12-inch main that they installed, 1968. So this main went in 63, and this one went in 68, and then it was tied in here, okay? And so the red would be the new main that they would just continue on there. Let me see if I can bring this. Here we go. So this is the match line and this is Howland Avenue. So this is the end of the existing main, and they were proposing to go on the other side of the street and just keep that 12 going all the way up. And because from Howland Avenue up belongs to the Kingston City School District, doesn't belong to the Kingston Water Department or the City of Kingston, we're proposing to just cut and cap this right here and make a pat and tap and tie their existing service in. We certainly would reach out to them. It might make sense if they run a new service at this time. It would be cost effective to do it all at once. But given the challenges we're all under, I'm not really sure that they're going to want to do that at this time. So that's kind of the thumbnail sketch of what we're doing, what Dennis thinks is the most feasible option. And one thing, I know you can't really see this, it's very difficult, but if you look closely at this, you've got on this side of the street, the water, the storm sewer, the gas, the sewer, the sanitary sewer. I mean, they're all, well, the gas main is directly on top of us up here in this portion, all the way up here, which is where all the breaks are. The sanitary sewer's on the other side and the storm is right there. So, I mean, it's just, and there's virtually nothing on the side of the street. So it might make sense to do that. Just, put in a cut and cap with a patent and bring it over. Cut it right here. Bring this up. And continue it up to here. And tie in the school district's main across the street.
So are we using both of those mains though?
Yeah, they're both live.
Well,
Doesn't
do we
make-
need both of them?
No, we don't. We would have, there's very few people on this 12-inch main, on this 8-inch main, actually. There's very few people. Most everybody's tied into this main as it goes up to here. And to be honest with you, if you drive up the street, there are very few houses because it's really the New York State DOT.
Right.
Until you get to about Howland Avenue. There's a house over here. There's some dental offices and some other offices here, and they're all connected onto this main that was installed in the 12-inch main. Up here on Howland Avenue, there's two homes right up here, right in this area, and they're actually tapped on the water main here, and their services run all the way across the street because nobody was tapped on this main.
Are those houses connected to Hurley Avenue? Or to Lucas?
I don't know how Lucas comes into this because we're not near Lucas Avenue.
You're talking about the 12-inch line goes into the exit school, right?
No, I'm not. I'm talking about the one that goes into Bailey.
Where's the other line that goes into?
It's on the tank system. It comes from a whole different way. Even though they're across the street on the same piece of property, one comes from the tank system down Marilena.
Right, the tank system, that's what I meant by Lucas.
No,
I think that originally they had two separate lines there because they're two separate schools.
I'm sure, but one is in the tank system and one is in the gravity system.
There's a reason for that, I think.
I'm sure there is. It's the elevations of the schools. But anyway, we would abandon this main in place.
All the way down to Hurley Avenue, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, if we had maybe right here, we would probably leave this portion installed, but from this point forward, we would abandon all that. Yes. Yes.
So this is not meant to be redundant. This is a replacement.
Yeah, and I can't give you an answer for why we had a main installed in 63 and another one installed in 68 and why they're all in service. I don't have an answer for that. It's certainly not how one would think one would do it.
So is the proposal to take the 8-inch or the 6-inch main out of service
Yes.
and reconnect those couple of people who are connected to that?
Yes. Almost all the services, yes. We have very few people out of water when we have to fix these breaks and shut that line down.
And the breaks occur further up, not down.
In fact, unbeknownst to us, we're actually fixing them on the school district's property in some cases, and we shouldn't have. But in February, when the water's cascading down the hill, and you see, it appears like the street's going all the way up, you don't realize that the city street ends at Howland Avenue.
Okay. So yeah, we definitely need to have a conversation with the schools.
Absolutely, absolutely. As for the timing of this, I know we'd like to do it as soon as possible, but the problem, and it really depends on if and when school's opening. You know, if schools are going to be delayed a little bit, this could be a September project. If schools aren't going to be delayed, you know, we're probably talking early, you know, as soon as school gets out next year. So, because it will take about a month and it will involve blasting. You have to blast a trench right up the road.
So my age-old question is, how are we paying for this?
I have, you know, that's another issue. We have some capital funds and it's, you know, I'm truly not asking you to make a decision tonight. I think we can research that a little bit and see how much we have and give you a better financial breakdown. I'm actually reluctant to take on a bunch of new projects when there's so many unknowns and variables in terms of everybody's funding and who's going to pay. I mean, our water sales are still right on par, but that doesn't mean our collections are going to be there. So far, they're doing well, but we have to see. So I would, you know, just let's look at the funding again and see if there's any, you know, possibility out there for, you know, I don't think there's any grant money out there for a project like this, but we can look.
This qualify for the WEA 2020?
It might, we certainly could do that. I mean, we have a deadline in October that we could look at, certainly could.
Okay, well, we're not making a decision this evening, I guess, is what you're
No,
saying.
I'm not asking for that. I don't think you have quite enough information. I mean, because it's, where are we gonna get the money from is a huge one. So I think that needs to be determined. I just wanted to tell you where we were, what was possible, what wasn't possible. We were hoping that we could line this. Now, I've since heard that there have been problems with some of the lining. There's a different lining methods, but some of them have not proven. There's some issues with VOCs and other things, but you know, it's not an option here, so it's not something we have to worry about.
Okay, thanks. Moving on to the roundabout.
I have nothing additional. I mean, things are going, I'm going to say things are going well from the water department's perspective. I'm not going to say that from the city's perspective. I'm not going to say that from traffic, but, you know, they're so far so good. Now, they really haven't started work on our stuff yet. So, you know, but I'm hopefully optimistic.
When do you anticipate them doing our stuff?
I think they're working on the sewer right now, isn't that true? Yeah, they're working on the sewer portion, which is below us. And then we had a meeting with them the other day because there's one portion where obviously our mains are pressurized. And so, and the sewers have to flow by gravity. So there's one small location that we're going to be 12 or so feet and we're going to be dipped under the sewer main. And it's not something that you ever want to encourage or endorse. But in this case, there's really no other solution. So we met with them, they're going to GPS the locations. And so we're at least going to be able to find that small stretch where we're 45 under them. And that they're going to encase it, the joints, and do all the proper mitigation so that there's no cross-contamination. So I would expect they're probably going to get to us later in the fall, or, you know, probably toward August timeframe. But I can get you a better idea when I talk to them next week.
And how about temporary water lines?
You know, they're not going to need too many. The way we've installed valves and the way that the lay of the land is, there's probably 4 or 5 houses that they're going to have to provide temporary water to. And they're those houses along Albany Avenue, from the entrance to Colonel Chandler Drive, probably to what I refer to as the hump.
Yeah.
Everybody else should have water throughout this project. So, and they're aware of that, and they know they have to provide water to those folks. They also know that in order to make tie-ins and things, at some point, you're gonna have, people are gonna be without service for a little bit. So we told them that, it would be no more than 8 hours. They could have anybody off without providing a temporary water hookup to. So we'll see.
And we don't want these temporary water lines to be in use during the winter.
Well, that's really the contractor's responsibility to make sure that they're protected. On Washington Avenue, quite honestly, they insulated the daylights out of them, and they were there for like a year and a half. There were people that had, it's not ideal because, but when and if they freeze and break, they have to fix them.
Okay.
They really need to bury them, and I think they're gonna do that because the worst time with a temporary connection is when they're laying their potable water hoses and they're laying on top of the ground and it's 90 degrees out. It's great if you're taking a hot shower because the water's preheated for you, but it really, at your kitchen sink, it's pretty punky. It's really very unpalatable. So they're going to take steps not to have that happen. They're going to insulate them and make a connection right into the person's existing curb stop.
Okay.
So it should mostly be underground. So.
Tech City?
We're being paid so far.
Paying for what they're using.
Yeah, I mean, the farm hub, whatever, the farm to table, the county's paid their bill. So we're as whole as we can be under the circumstances out there.
Oh, good. Any more news on farm to table in regards to their move?
None that I've heard. I have not had any communication with them directly or indirectly. So no, I don't know of any, his dates or whatever. I have no idea.
Steve, you don't have any information, do you? Okay.
I can reach out to Jim Quigley to see, but I think COVID-19 is, I think the plan was for him to try to relocate to a portion of the mall. The malls aren't open. So I don't know what that's going to do. So.
Okay. Correspondence?
I have nothing other than that you have a letter in there from Tim Charest. Everybody got a letter in their packet. I briefed you on that last month. He had written a letter to the mayor. I responded and included that in my response. He is appealing that decision that I made to you for your decision this evening. And that's the only correspondence that we have.
Does anyone have any questions or opinions or?
Well, was there anything different in the packet that we received today, Judy, that gave him, more ground to stand on?
No. It's the same, it's pretty much a reiteration of the initial letter that he sent to the mayor. What it really comes down to, in our opinion, is that all final reading requests must be in writing. And and I believe he, may have sent that letter by the US Postal Service, but we never received a request in writing for a final reading. You can make a lot of phone calls to us. People do it all the time. They call, they request the status of the account. It's not the same as a final reading. That's as of the last reading date. It's not as of the closing date. His contention is the meter wasn't installed until April. That's not true. The meter was sat on the floor by a previous owner when they winterized it. That's frankly illegal. You're not supposed to touch the water meter. But we still got a reading every time we read it. So there's a minimum bill due even if there's no consumption, and there was no consumption. And so, you know, I
So
understand.
the charges in question are just on the minimum bill because there's no water used. And according to our records, he had a meter and he gets charged.
Right, and one of those bills, had there been a final reading, would have gone to the previous owner.
I mean, the only relief that actually I could see giving him would be prorating the minimum amount for 8 days, because he admits that he took ownership on the 18th and the bill starts on the 10th. His
Minimum bill is minimum bill.
Huh?
Minimum bill is a minimum bill, you know, you certainly can do that, but we've
Right.
never done that in the past, that's not our rules.
I don't think you can prorate it.
No, to your bill, bills does,
I don't believe you can prorate it, Dennis. It's a minimum bill.
I mean, he really admits that he took ownership on the 18th. So,
right.
so how do we respond back to him?
Well, he's made a request to appeal to the board from the original letter, which you've reviewed. It's the board's decision. If you want to make a motion to deny that request, you may do so, or you make such other rules as other decisions as you like. But it would require a motion to the board as to whether to review it or to deny it.
Well, I think we just reviewed it now. So the question is either we, a motion to deny or a motion to do something else.
Correct.
Right,
And so what's the board's pleasure? Do we have any?
I'm just thinking if there's nothing different in the packet, the sealed packet we received today than what had been presented before that has been reviewed already by Judy and you and Bill, then there's nothing new here. And if we have no precedent for doing proration, then I believe we need to stand firm on a denial.
So then we're looking for a motion to deny his appeal.
His claim is, hold on, oh, good, okay. He claimed that he did send a letter, correct? That he did, but we never received it.
we never received it, and I mean, you know, we have looked.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you that, I can't recall a time when a request for a final reading came in via the US mail, but it's not, we'd still accept it. Usually it's done through email or it's done via fax. And if Mr. Charest emailed it, he would have that email receipt.
Well, perhaps, we should make it a policy that if people are going to be sending this correspondence, that it either should be through email or certified mail, then there would be some proof, like, he would have proof, we would have, you know what I mean? It's because it seems that's what the whole argument comes down to, is that he says he gave notice to us, but it never came in the mail.
right.
Mail never got there.
When we do closings normally, and we do a lot of them in our office, there's a difference, as Judy explained, between a final reading and the status of the account.
Correct.
And I can tell you from my office, even with my relationship with the water department, when I have a real estate closing, this office always requires, I can call up and say, Jane, give me a final reading on it or something. She will not do it. She said, I have to there's a form for it. She said, send a form either by email or by mail, and I'll give you the final reading, and they do it promptly. The other thing is that normally in a situation like this, any person who's purchasing property uses a title insurance company. And it's the title insurance company's responsibility, the ultimate responsibility, to assure that the final reading is obtained. And if they fail to do so, the title insurance company will reimburse the new owner or the old owner, wherever the chips may fall as far as the owner. So I don't think you need the requirement of a certified letter.
Yeah, that's a good point. I forgot about title insurance.
But as far as the action goes, I would think whatever the board's pleasure, I think you would need either a motion to pay him money or to deny the claim. That's essentially what you're looking for here.
Since we have no proof of the letter, whatever, you can't make one up. I think we should deny his appeal.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
And I'll second.
Okay. Those in favor?
Aye.
Everybody? Okay, carried.
So so to be full disclosure, Mr. Charest is attending, he's signed up as an attendee to the meeting, which every member of the public is, and he raised his hand in the chat, and I told him that if he wanted to ask a question, he had to write it via chat, and this is Tim Charest. What about 4 phone calls? What about the HUD statement? The fix is in.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, I don't know I didn't know if you folks could all see that or not. So,
Yeah, I could.
okay, just want to make sure. Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Superintendent's report?
I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll second it.
Okay. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, carried.
Dennis, I have one more thing on that Matt and I forgot on the agenda. And it's, for many years, we have had a corporate credit card through KeyBank. And I have a card, all our managers have a card. It's for emergency purposes, and you still have to use all our purchasing policy and adhere to all those rules. And it's come in handy to, refurbish the postage machine and a few other things. And I've had great difficulty with KeyBank ever since, we've had retirements of our managers, getting new cards for Matt and Ryan. It's just been impossible. So Matt has made arrangements with M&T Bank to issue credit cards to all of us. And that's who we bank with anyway. So I think, and Matt can explain the limits on the card.
So we're going to be 5 cards, and we were thinking 5,000 for 4 of them and 10,000 for one, so 30,000 total.
Right. And the one would remain in the office. That would be Matt's card, and that's the one we would use for, refurbishing postage machines and different recurring things that we do in the office. And the rest of us would only use them. I mean, COVID-19 put us over the top because we had to make some emergency purchases for some of that, and my card came in handy. But when we're ordering, our card is on file when we order through Amazon. We have an account with Amazon, things like that. So we would like the M&T requires that we have a motion authorizing those cards.
So what was the limits again?
5,000 for 4 and 10,000 for the 5th card.
And if you want those lowered, they can be
Yeah, we
lowered.
can adjust that. It's
We
not
can
like
adjust
set in
that.
stone.
The previous card, to be perfectly frank, was $10,000, and we shared that limit. And we ran into problems with that with COVID.
Mhm.
Because, for instance, the Zoom link that we have here, that was $800, and then something else. And we had exceeded that limit for a while, and that was okay. And then we paid it, and then we were fine. But if you're more comfortable with a little lower amount, that's fine. It'll work. Because the field personnel don't use them very often.
I'm comfortable with the amounts that you have there. I understand it's very convenient to be able to have the credit card and when you need to purchase something quickly.
So do you need a motion?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, he needs a motion.
Okay.
Well, I'll make the motion to authorize credit cards. Is that?
Approving the application, yeah.
The
Pardon?
application,
Approving an application for an M&T
Okay.
credit card.
Okay, well, I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Peg?
Mhm.
Okay. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, carried.
thank you,
Thanks, last meeting.
thank you. What?
Who's paid for this meeting? This is paid.
I don't think so. We don't have anything for executive session this evening, but I have to say, we've tried to figure out how to do it through Zoom, and it's a challenge. It's not easy. So what Bill has suggested, and I think it's elegant in its simplicity, is that, well, it is really, that we have a conference line. And that if during the meeting we need to go into executive session, we can just do it via phone in the middle of the meeting on the conference line. We have
Mhm.
make a conference call, and if we're in, those of us who are in this room can step out. So that we don't have to, Zoom had suggested when I contacted them that we just mute everybody, and that doesn't work. Or that we could, the other way some communities have done it with Zoom, there's a community in Maine that does this, that you have to have a meeting and a webinar at the same time, and you have to log out of one and log into, it's cumbersome. It would take 20 minutes to get into executive session and a half hour to get back out. It's just not worth it. So I think, at some point in the future, we'll all be together. But quite honestly, this is quite convenient. I mean, it gets the job done, so. So I think we have a solution for that, and what I'll do is, if there's, we will send out, we'll email everybody our conference line numbers.
Yeah, it would have to be a phone line different than the one you're using now.
We're not using a phone line.
They might do, somebody might be on their iPhone
Right,
calling to the meeting.
right, it could be, right.
Are you all using personal computers, or is anybody using their iPhone?
Looks like everybody's on
computer.
They're all on a computer.
Computer.
Right, so that would be the solution, so. I will be on vacation for the August meeting, but I will Zoom in.
I will be here for the first time in 42 years.
Will you move back and run a meeting?
I normally have my vacation in August, but we're not going this year.
And I don't know if I'm going, but I mean, time will tell. So, if I'm here, I'm here. If I'm not, I'll be here remotely. So,
Would you rather us change the day of the meeting or just
No.
do? Okay.
no, it's fine. No,
Okay, is there any other business to it? Not hearing any, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion, we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, carried. Thank you, everyone. Well,
Be safe, everybody.
Thank
yeah,
you.
thank you, everybody.
take care.
Bye.
Stay
Bye.
safe.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.